This review is brought to you in part by Rogers Hobby Center in Saginaw, Michigan, where the fun begins. Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet. This review covers the Baja Bronco. It's a 125 scale Revell model kit, number 85-4436. It's a partial re-release of the previous Baja kit, but this has the strap-specific body and details. Now, Ford helped create a legend in '65 when it sent a few Broncos to Bill Strop, who applied his racing and fabrication skills to the new four-wheel drive platform. This resulted in multiple off-road victories, and in '71, Ford announced the limited production Strop Baja Bronco edition with special badging and coloration. Revell rates this a skill level 5 because it requires multiple paint for the special scheme and glue to construct. It also has a high parts count with 137 nicely molded parts in white, chrome, clear, rubber tires, and metal pins for the axles. The decals are the water slide type, and they have race options too. So the instructions are easy to follow, the typical book format, and they're well laid out. Build up is easy, but the parts assembly can be combined in some areas to speed up the build time and paint issues. Overall, when you're done, it's about 6 1/4 inches long, 2 3/4 inches wide, and 3 inches high. Here's my version of what some people might call an open box review. I opened the box, and there are all the parts, but you can see them in about 20 seconds. But that won't help you build the kit, and that's what we're going to do. Remember, however, to use the manufacturer's safety and use guidelines when you use any of the products that you see or hear mentioned in the review. Here are the decals included with the kit. They are very colorful, and it's a great sheet of decals with numerous markings, etc. Now, I would suggest that for some of the decals, the larger ones, and the seat inserts, if you use them, you use some of the aftermarket setting solutions to make sure they conform and stick to the model. Our first step, we'll grab the pieces for the motor that you see here, and then build the block, the heads, the valve covers, oil pan, and the front cover. Then paint the motor Ford blue with a steel transmission. It's got a gold tinted carb and black and gold starter, and then flat back black belts, fan, and a hose and coil. Now the distributor is red and the oil filter is orange. Steel exhausts go on the manifolds, and the air cleaner filter is a flat white. Now assemble the motor and all the parts, and once that's dry, add the engine decals, including the air filter and the oil filter ones. Grab the frame and exhaust parts and remove the copyright script on the frame for a nice smooth finish. Then add the Reese hitch and paint the frame flat black. The exhaust is steel with red mufflers, and install the motor and exhaust. Gather up these parts from the kit and paint the chassis parts flat black. The shocks are red and aluminum, and the drive shafts and the transfer case are steel color. The steering linkage is black, the skid plate is flat black, and assemble the rear suspensions as directions show you, and install the transfer case, the skid plate, and the drive shaft. Then assemble the front suspension, and note in this one photo how all the linkages will line up. We can work on the tires and wheels now, and I would rough up the tread area of the tires by pressing and rolling that tread on a piece of fine sandpaper, about a 220 grit, on a flat surface. Once that's done, insert the rims into the tires, and note that there are front and rear rims. There's a difference. Paint the retainers black and add the pins and the retainers to the rim backs. Using some thinned flat black, I used a black wash to wash the rims fronts to bring out some details. And on the front rims, use some red and paint the 4x4 locks with that. Put a dab of glue on the ends of the pins and locate the receiving holes on the front end and install the front end and the rear end, and then at this point you'll have a rolling chassis on which to build the rest of your model. So grab the interior parts out of the kit and we'll prepare those for paint. The floor will be body color on the bottom and flat black on the inside with the wheel wells a body color too. The seats are assembled and they're a light tan color. Now the rear seat frame is flat black and the side and rear panels are body color with the door panels light tan and silver details. The roll bar can be flat black too. Now drill the holes out for the roll bar and then install the seats, the roll bar, and the shifter. Now add the door and the panels to the tub. Next we can detail the dashboard. It's flat black with some decals added to the column and the wheel. And they're added to the dash after painting flat black and silver details as well. Add the pedals to the dash at the bottom. We can start working on the body now. And note that the strop paint job is actually 4 different colors: red, white, blue, and flat black. We'll start by sanding the body with a fine sandpaper, about 1000 grit. And then assemble the swing arm mounts and the tag plate to the rear of the Bronco, removing any defects or blemishes or parting lines that you see on any of these parts. Now add the windshield frame to the body. Now give these body parts a nice even coat of primer. Start with a few light mist coats and then eventually add it a little wetter until you get good coverage. Once that's done and it's dry, go ahead and once again use some fine sandpaper to smooth out any blemishes that you find. It's going to be a little tricky, but as in most situations, you're going to want to paint the lightest colors first. So first, the white can be painted onto the body on the top and the roof's bottom. Then tape off the parts that are going to stay white. Second, paint the red color on the body. And once again, make sure that you tape off the parts that you don't want painted. Finally, add the third color, blue, to the roof. Now, once all of the paint is cured, you can remove the tape from that. At the end, tape the red line for the hood and paint the flat black for the hood at this time too. Now is a good time to highlight the chrome trim on the vehicle. So we're going to use a metal foil. There's a number of brands out there, but it's kind of like adhesive tape that's got a metal foil surface, and you just basically cut a piece off to cover the feature that you want to highlight. Then you stick it on like tape and rub it down, burnish it into place, and then you use a really sharp hobby blade to trim off the excess, and it gives you a nice looking trim piece just like the original. Next we can add some body decals, and there's some nice markings available for the model, so that's up to you. Choose what you like, either the standard script or the racing livery items. Go ahead and use plenty of warm water, and I suggest some of the setting solutions to make sure that they conform and stick well. Now let your model dry overnight and then give it a clear coat to lock those decals into place. Now we're going to install the interior tub, but I want to remind you, always scrape off the paint or any chrome plating so that you get a good bond when you glue parts together. Now locate a few spots where the super glue can hold it in place, and then go ahead and flip the Bronco over and install it and the dash on the top side after that. Now grab the completed chassis and do the same thing. Scrape off the contact points of any paint and then glue it into place using some good strong glue. I suggest you use some super glue here. And there's some holes in the chassis that line up with some knobs on the floor, and some super glue will be needed to locate that into position. Now get out the grill, radiator, and some of the front end parts here. And we're going to add those details. So install the headlights with some clear glue or white glue, and then the markers are painted with a clear orange, and those are installed. Then add the grill and the bumper and paint the radiator shroud, radiator, and hose flat black and install those pieces. The master cylinder is steel with some gold highlighting, and that's installed next. And finish any underhood detail painting and decals that you'd like to place at this time. Get these parts out of the kit and we'll swing around to the back end. Now paint the tail lights and the lower lights clear red and install those. Once again, use some of that clear or white glue and the tire cover is white with the tire being rubber and has a steel rim. Then add the decal there and glue it into place on the swing arm. Then add the bumper. Slide the swing arm into place. You won't need any glue for that. Grab these parts out, including the windows, and note that the windows have chrome surround trim pieces, and we're going to use foil on those just like we did on the body. So go ahead and install that foil, or if you have a really steady hand, you can use some silver paint or a silver marker. But we're going to use some foil in this build, and then install the glass into place using some white glue or some crystal clear glue. Now add the wipers, the door handles, and the gas caps and mirrors, and remember to remove any chrome plating before you try to glue them in place. You can see the foil trim here on the windows. So add the handle to the rear door on the roof, and then add the glass into place. And the roof is left to be removable. You can pull it off to show the interior, or as it was the case, you could pull a hard top off and make it an open air Bronco. Most of the parts are used for this Bronco build, which is quite a high part count. The only ones that I had left were some stock hubcaps and some of the decals that I didn't use for my particular build. Well, there you have it. This late edition from Revell for the Bronco body that they introduced about 18 months ago, now released here in late 17. And it's a great looking kit, but it's mostly the stock Bronco with a couple of the strap specific decals, etc., and the roll bar. Now there are some pieces missing from the actual strap version, and those are available on the aftermarket. People like Fireball Model Works, they have an upgrade kit for that. So overall though, everything in this kit fits very well. It's a nice build up and a great base for a real good rendition of the strap version. So I recommend it. I had no issues except for the windshield frame was slightly warped, but that goes back into position under a little warm water. And I think this is a great looking kit for the shelf, especially with the 4-part body paint. So if I were you, I'd get one and put it on my shelf. I hope you like this premium step-by-step model kit review, and so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. But you can find us on Facebook and at our website, rightonreplicas.com. Thanks!